There are techniques in psychology so potent, so quietly destructive to the established emotional order, they were never meant to survive academic scrutiny. Not because they lacked empirical support, but because they rewired the human dynamic too efficiently, stripping away the performative layers society clings to. This isn't influence. This isn't persuasion. This is erosion. Emotional erosion. Kind that silences entire rooms. There was a time when these methods flickered through underground seminars, whispered in stolen margins of unpublished manuals. Students passed them like contraband. They weren't outlawed officially, but they vanished, scrubbed, sanitized, because they allowed people to turn invisible without disappearing. This is not a myth. It's the reality behind unreadable presence. We call it the black screen protocol. Not because you hide, but because you stop leaking. Imagine being a presence no one can interpret, no one can provoke, no one can control. No reaction, no emotional hints, just precision, stillness, strategic void. It's disturbing for the observer, because they're hardwired to read, to measure, to manipulate. But when the data disappears, their certainty does too. And into that uncertainty, you rise. There is a power in denying others emotional architecture. They reach for it and find static. Not avoidance, not evasion, just encrypted calm. The foundation of this method begins with silence, not the kind that begs for rescue, but the kind that rejects interaction. Silence becomes your weapon, your atmosphere, your governance. Most people don't speak, they leak. Emotion oozes from them unconsciously, tone inflections, blinking rates, jaw tension, hesitant pauses, reactive smiles. They broadcast emotional noise without knowing it, signal pollution that others read with ease. This isn't just vulnerability, it's architectural failure. Because true psychological control begins with re-engineering how emotion is housed, transmitted, and contained. If your architecture is reactive, you'll always be manipulable. But what if the walls held? What if they pushed, and nothing moved? Emotional architecture is forged through disrupting habitual expressions. You introduce delay, silence. You strip away performance. The body wants to fidget, clarify, correct. You resist, not by suppression, but by redesign. Facial neutrality, tonal flatness, postural dominance, blink timing, breath pacing, each becomes a mastered zone. You speak with sculpted gravity, words heavy with restraint. Your emotional fortress becomes their psychological maze. And silence is not emptiness, it's spatial dominance. They wonder what you're thinking. They interpret your silence as judgment, confidence, mystery. They start managing their own behavior in response to your unreadability. You are no longer a participant. You're the thermostat. They adapt. You remain. But unreadability isn't avoidance. It's encryption. To be truly encrypted, you must fracture the observer's process. Humans depend on facial cues, tonal shifts, limb positioning. These inputs build maps of mood, intent, identity. You dismantle those maps. You control input. They lean in, trying to read you. Scan your face. Slow their speech, hoping to provoke rhythm. But nothing arrives. You become a black screen. Movements occur, but reveal nothing. Speech lands, but explains little. Encryption means purity of signal. What is shared is intentional. What is withheld becomes myth. You're not aloof. You're algorithmic. Your presence denies prediction. And that denial reshapes the social terrain. People become cautious, careful, measured. They don't know why, but they recalibrate. And in recalibration, you absorb control. Silence, when weaponized, stops being passive. It becomes architectural. Most silence is perceived as weak, but tactical silence is terrain. It occupies space. It pressures without volume. It speaks without words. This is the silence protocol, engineered stillness designed to manipulate time, rhythm, and dominance. The mind abhors a vacuum. Silence demands interpretation. And when no data is given, the mind begins projecting. You hold silence unnaturally long enough that they become uncertain. Their social scripts dissolve. Questions are asked. No answers return. Their emotional tone elevates. You remain still. Confrontation becomes asymmetrical. They escalate. You absorb. You're not evasive. You're controlling the space. You manipulate rhythm. Speak slowly. Pause deeply. Words land like thunder inside tension. Your body matches. No twitching. No gesturing. Just deliberate presence. In negotiations, this silence becomes leverage. After a statement, pause. Hold the room. Let them react first. Their rush to respond exposes position. They fear silence. You command it. Silence stretches perception. You slow time. You drain their urgency. You radiate calm assertion. Not coldness, just unreadability. Stillness is next. Most people confuse stillness with inactivity. But when mastered, stillness becomes signal. You are observed, but impenetrable. That stillness confronts the observer. It amplifies space. They move, shift, emote. You do not. You are psychological inertia. The storm moves around you. In confrontation, your immobility becomes unbearable. You do not flinch. Do not argue. Do not react. You remain symmetrical, balanced, composed. They adjust posture, tone, gestures. You remain architectural. You become symbol, not person. Statues don't react. They impose. And when you do move, it's calculated. Rising from a seat, turning your head, shifting a limb. These become tactical signals. Precision through minimalism. Your stillness cancels chaos, protects energy, preserves rhythm. You last longer. You remain cold longer. You dominate longer. Others burn out. You remain intact. Then comes the feedback void. Interaction usually runs on response, stimulus, reaction, confirmation. You remove that loop. Someone speaks. You offer no nod, no gesture, no smile. They tell a joke, you don't laugh. They show frustration, you remain still. That removal of feedback disturbs their rhythm. They question themselves. Were they rude? Were they boring? Are you judging them? They spiral inward, chasing their own uncertainty. You become the architect of their discomfort. Your feedback void dismantles their equilibrium. They overcompensate, become verbose, emotional, erratic. You say one sentence. They offer paragraphs. You remain unmoved. They self-destruct in search of response. Occasionally, you offer microfeedback, a nod, a single word, a faint pause. These strike like thunder. They cling to them. They magnify meaning. You are not manipulating. You're calibrating. This is psychological jiu-jitsu. Emotional martial arts. Low reactivity equals confidence. Silence equals status. Feedback void equals myth. They chase interpretation and lose focus. Burn emotional fuel chasing ghosts. You dominate atmospherically. And the myth begins. People describe you in fragments. Cold but magnetic, silent but dominant, present but unreachable. They stop trying to define you. They start retelling you. He never flinched. She spoke once and won the room. You become a concept, not a person. Symbolic, legendary. You arrive, and behavior shifts. Voices soften, gestures reduce, rhythm slows, not because of noise, but because of presence. Your quiet becomes cinematic. Memory amplifies stillness. You speak rarely, but your silence retells endlessly. Myth spreads. You become known without exposure, quoted without explanation. Their imitation of your posture becomes performance. You haven't taught them, yet they mimic. You haven't instructed, yet they defer. Your encrypted signal becomes folklore. Admiration grows. Fear emerges. Respect crystallizes. You reshape them by refusing their script. In romantic settings, you attract not through chase, but atmosphere. You aren't flirtatious. You're composed. You reject emotional flooding, and they elevate for you. Your consistency becomes allure. Your restraint becomes magnetism. They seek your approval. Adapt to your rhythm. You never demanded it. You designed it. And finally, resilience by design. You are no longer reacting. You're architecting. Emotion doesn't leak. It's contained. You've removed triggers, rewired posture, rebuilt tone. Failure doesn't sting. It recalibrates. Criticism doesn't break. It feeds data. You've disconnected external emotional control. Resilience is now embedded in your routine. Silence rehearsed. Stillness embodied. Feedback denied. Myth engineered. Reputation optimized. Others fluctuate. You remain statuesque. Your aura shifts rooms. You've become essential infrastructure. Emotional restraint built stamina. Behavioral symmetry built presence. Precision built power. You don't perform high status. You are high status. Through absence, through calibration, through encrypted dominance. You are unreadable. You are resilient. You are mythic.